It's week 9. We're halfway through the fantasy season, just short of halfway through the NFL season. Jeff Erickson here with Jim Coventry as we're going to talk about our week 9 rankings. We got the problem child week here. We decided to pick 4 players that we're not so fond of, maybe in at least in 3 cases, not fond of the matchup or the player. At least one, we got a good matchup here. Let's jump into running back Monday night. Arizona Cardinals are at the Dallas Cowboys. They are a run and pass funnel. So how do we feel about Bam Knight, Jim?
Well, we know Dallas doesn't give up points, and they are the worst run defense in the league. And Bam Knight has 11 and 14 carries in the last 2 games. Look, he's not a good running back, but he fell in the end zone against Indianapolis. He actually had 3 catches, limited yardage against Green Bay. So based on volume and an easy opponent and the fact Dallas probably doesn't pull away from anybody, I have him as my running back 25, which means you could probably use him as a flex, but you never know. He could fall in the end zone twice and really make your day.
Absolutely. I've got him at 25 as well. Jordan Mason got 40% of the snaps Thursday night against the Chargers. Game flow was bonkers. Obviously, they're getting blown out with an injured quarterback. They're going to be facing the Detroit Lions on the road this week with J.J. McCarthy. You would think that the Vikings would want to be able to run the ball. That's a hard ask against Detroit. I'm pretty pessimistic about Jordan Mason this week. What say you?
I have him as my running back 26 with even a further downside tag on him. 3 games this season, week 1, week 2, and week 8, there have been Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason on the field. Mason is averaging 5.5 PPR points in those 3 games. If he is not dominating this backfield, Jordan Mason, that means it is not going to work out because he needs every touch he can get. He's very much limited in the receiving game, and who even knows because goal line work. So last week, 4 carries, 3 yards, a catch for 3 yards. He is borderline unplayable.
I don't think it's borderline. He's unplayable to me. I have him at 34, Jim, and that's I've got Kyle Monangai ahead of him, Aaron Jones, his teammate, ahead of him, Tony Pollard ahead of him, Travion Henderson, David Montgomery, Woody Marks, all of these running backs I have ahead of Jordan Mason this week. Breaks my heart because I thought Mason could be really good with Minnesota. Is not the season they expected. That offensive line imploding has really destroyed this team. Losing their center long-term with the concussion, long history of concussions there. Dariso has been hurt multiple times. The right tackle's been hurt multiple times. Tough look for the Vikings, and I think it continues this week. Opposite side of that game, Quentin Johnston had 0.0 points last week against the Vikings. Does he bounce back this week against the Titans?
So I did kind of call ahead of time that when the injuries hit the Chargers line, that their antidote had to be quick passing, and that relegated Quentin Johnston. It said it'd be a lot of McConkey and Keenan Allen. Didn't see the Gadsden one coming up front, but then that naturally factored in. Joe Alt came back last week. Tennessee is likely without Jeff Simmons again. So I have Johnson as my wide receiver 33 because they may keep the quick passing game. But Arden Key has also hurt another key defender for the Titans, and they could start throwing downfield. Consider Johnson a boom-bust play, but recent tendencies show against him.
Yeah, I'm going to try to avoid starting him where I can. There's some leagues where I can't avoid it. Between bye weeks and injuries, let's face it, wide receivers has been a tough look. There's been a lot of key receivers that have been shut down with injury, so makes it tough. Another guy I really don't want to start him is Jameson Williams. I enjoyed his bye week. I didn't have to rank him, didn't have to answer questions about him. It was lovely. He's back this week, though.
Jameson Williams has 2 games with double-digit PPR points a season. Horrific. And the 2 games that he did well, they weren't like huge games. 18.6 PPR against Kansas City. Even in with a long catch against Chicago, 19 PPR points. So he has not been an upside guy. It's been all like floor with a little splash here and there. And against the Vikings, sending simulated pressures all day long. And I know Goff's seen them, but that interior line gets tested a lot. And when that happens, Goff's not throwing downfield. So this is another one of those games. You're going to get one of those 3 for 40, 2 for 40, and that's probably it. So I have him as my wide receiver 36.
Yeah, I have him at 42, and I have Quentin Johnston at 44. Too good to cut, not good enough to play. It's fantasy hell. It's the worst thing possible. You don't want to have roster spots taken up by players you don't want to play when you need him to play. It's just the worst possible feeling there. So I going to do a better job of avoiding rostering those said players in the future.
Yes.
Just good to identify that going into the season. Like, okay, if it doesn't work out, what's going to happen here? Because he's in that fantasy hell right now. You're better off cutting him. Let somebody else spend a good chunk of fab dealing with him to get him, and then make him dealing with that decision every particular week.